CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Multicultural Education. Question 1. Looking at the clue that the class start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz, which idea should Caleb remember? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, metacognition. Option C, constructivism. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option D. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Metacognition is different because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism does not fit because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Question 2. Caleb sees that an instructor adds praise after a student participates and participation increases during a morning lesson. Which concept best explains it? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, extinction. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, punishment. The correct answer is option A. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is different because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Punishment does not fit because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Question 3. When Caleb notices that the class complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home in a practice test workshop, which idea is being tested? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, response cost. The correct answer is option B. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Classical conditioning is different because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Question 4. During a tutoring table, Caleb studies a case where a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which term fits best? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, shaping. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, positive punishment. The correct answer is option D. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 5. In a classroom discussion, Caleb asks why an instructor rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class. Which answer names the idea? Option A, reciprocal teaching. Option B, shaping. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Reciprocal teaching is not the best choice because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Question 6. After reading that an instructor stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away, how should Caleb label the concept? Option A, modeling. Option B, extinction. Option C, punishment. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option B. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Modeling is not the best choice because it involves learning by watching others. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. For a short exam review, CLEP connects a learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses with which principle? Option A, variable ratio schedule. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, variable interval schedule. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed interval schedule is not the best choice because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule is different because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Question 8. Could a case where the class work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday be an example of which concept for CLEP? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, token economy. Option C, variable ratio schedule. Option D, fixed interval schedule. The correct answer is option D, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on a set number of responses. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Variable ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Question 9. Why would CLEP link a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praise to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, observational learning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, insight learning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option A, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Insight learning is different because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. A practice item tells CLEP that a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems. Which concept is most likely? Option A, external locus of control. Option B, self-concept. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option C, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. External locus of control is not the best choice because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept is different because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. Question 11. Before answering, CLEP identifies that a learner's confidence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another. Which term should be chosen? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, reciprocal determinism. Option C, maturation. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on learned stimulus associations, maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. Which choice helps Caleb explain why an instructor gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as the class improve in a mini lecture? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, extinction. Option C, standardization. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option A, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Question 13. How can Caleb classify a classroom moment where a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone? Option A, formal operational stage. Option B, zone of proximal development. Option C, mastery learning. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option B, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Formal operational stage is not the best choice because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Question 14. Suppose Caleb observes that a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which concept is shown? Option A, accommodation. Option B, encoding. Option C, assimilation. Option D, conservation. The correct answer is option C, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes the schema to fit new information. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Conservation does not fit because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Question 15. While reviewing, Caleb sees a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, rehearsal. Option B, class inclusion. Option C, assimilation. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Rehearsal is not the best choice because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Class inclusion is different because it involves understanding category relationships. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. One interesting clue says a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic. Which educational psychology term fits for Caleb? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, sensoromotor thinking. Option D, pre-operational thinking. The correct answer is option A, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Formal operational thinking is not the best choice because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Sensoromotor thinking is different because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. From this example, where a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples, which answer should Caleb select? Option A, object permanence. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, concrete operational thinking. Option D, pre-operational thinking. The correct answer is option B, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Object permanence is not the best choice because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Concrete operational thinking is different because it works best with tangible examples. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Question 18. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, object permanence. Option B, conservation. Option C, egocentrism. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option A, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Conservation is not the best choice because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills. Which principle applies? Option A, generativity versus stagnation. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option B, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Generativity versus stagnation is not the best choice because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Identity versus role confusion does not fit because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Question 20. Can Caleb treat a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are as evidence of which concept? Option A, autonomy versus shame. Option B, intimacy versus isolation. Option C, identity versus role confusion. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option C, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Autonomy versus shame is not the best choice because it describes toddlers building independence. Intimacy versus isolation is different because it usually involves young adult relationships. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it focuses on school-age competence. Question 21. If Caleb must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter? Option A, moral realism. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Moral realism is not the best choice because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Pre-conventional morality is different because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Question 22. Rather than guessing, Caleb should connect a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward with which concept? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, identity achievement. The correct answer is option A, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality is different because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. Curiosity rises when Caleb reads that a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, learned helplessness. The correct answer is option A, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Learned helplessness does not fit because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Question 24. A CLEP-style scenario says an instructor plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design. Which answer best captures it for Caleb? Option A, multiple intelligences. Option B, working memory. Option C, G factor. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option A, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Working memory is not the best choice because it is a limited mental workspace. G factor is different because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares learners to a group. Question 25. Inside an after-school class, Caleb studies why an assignment asks the class to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life. Which concept fits? Option A, criterion reference testing. Option B, fluid intelligence. Option C, multiple intelligences. Option D, triarchic intelligence. The correct answer is option D, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Criterion reference testing is not the best choice because it measures performance against standards. Fluid intelligence is different because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. Looking at the clue that a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating, which idea should Caleb remember? Option A, extrinsic motivation. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option C, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Extrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Question 27. Caleb sees that a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card during a mini lecture. Which concept best explains it? Option A, self-regulation. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Self-regulation is not the best choice because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Intrinsic motivation is different because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. When Caleb notices that a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen in a peer study circle, which idea is being tested? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, performance goal. Option D, avoidance goal. The correct answer is option B, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as unchangeable. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Avoidance goal does not fit because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Question 29. During a bright review class, Caleb studies a case where a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which term fits best? Option A, metacognition. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option D, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Metacognition is not the best choice because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Intrinsic motivation is different because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. In a quiet study group, Caleb asks why a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability. Which answer names the idea? Option A, information processing theory. Option B, attribution theory. Option C, classroom ecology. Option D, constructivism. The correct answer is option B, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Information processing theory is not the best choice because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Classroom ecology is different because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Constructivism does not fit because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Question 31. After reading that a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible, how should Caleb label the concept? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, positive transfer. Option C, learned helplessness. Option D, growth mindset. The correct answer is option C, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Positive transfer is different because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset does not fit because it supports belief that ability can improve. Question 32. For a short exam review, Caleb connects a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. With which principle? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, external attribution. Option C, entity theory. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option A, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. External attribution is not the best choice because it places causes outside the learner. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Question 33. Could a case where a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson be an example of which concept for Caleb? Option A, Kohlberg theory. Option B, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option B, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Kohlberg theory is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy is different because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Classical conditioning does not fit because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Question 34. Why would Caleb link a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, working memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, procedural memory. The correct answer is option A, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory is different because it stores information over extended periods. Procedural memory does not fit because it stores skills and habits. Question 35. A practice item tells CLEP that a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier. Which concept is most likely? Option A, selective attention. Option B, long-term memory. Option C, working memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option B, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Selective attention is not the best choice because it filters what receives mental focus. Working memory is different because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Sensory memory does not fit because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Question 36. Before answering, CLEP identifies that a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it. Which term should be chosen? Option A, retrieval. Option B, encoding. Option C, validity. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Retrieval is not the best choice because it involves pulling stored information back out. Validity is different because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction does not fit because it weakens a learned behavior. Question 37. Which choice helps CLEP explain why a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall in a teacher training scenario? Option A, centration. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, massed practice. Option D, retrieval practice. The correct answer is option D, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice does not fit because it compresses study into one long session. Question 38. How can CLEP classify a classroom moment where a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days? Option A, massed practice. Option B, shaping. Option C, norming. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Massed practice is not the best choice because it packs study into one concentrated period. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming does not fit because it creates comparison data for a test. Question 39. Suppose CLEP observes that a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences. Which concept is shown? Option A, rote rehearsal. Option B, elaboration. Option C, reliability. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Rote rehearsal is not the best choice because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability is different because it refers to consistency of measurement. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 40. While reviewing, CLEP sees a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, chunking. Option B, overlearning. Option C, accommodation. Option D, response cost. The correct answer is option A, chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Accommodation is different because it changes a schema to fit new information. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Question 41. One interesting clue says a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan. Which educational psychology term fits for CLEP? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, metacognition. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, automaticity. The correct answer is option B, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on external rewards. Automaticity does not fit because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Question 42. From this example, where knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability, which answer should CLEP select? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, transfer of learning. Option C, extinction. Option D, cognitive dissonance. The correct answer is option B, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Cognitive dissonance does not fit because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Question 43. Students in a peer study circle discuss why an instructor gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, advance organizer. Option B, random assignment. Option C, token economy. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option A, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Random assignment is not the best choice because it places participants into groups by chance. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. Teachers in a Bright Review class wonder why a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method. Which principle applies? Option A, reinforcer. Option B, rubric. Option C, schema. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option C, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Reinforcer is not the best choice because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing in a group. Question 45. Can CLEP treat too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson as evidence of which concept? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, cognitive load. Option C, reliability. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option B, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Question 46. If CLEP must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when the class build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving? Option A, maturation. Option B, behaviorism. Option C, standardization. Option D, constructivism. The correct answer is option D, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. behaviorism is different because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Standardization does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 47. Rather than guessing, CLEP should connect the class, investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation with which concept? Option A, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option B, inquiry-based learning. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option B. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Fixed ratio reinforcement is not the best choice because it rewards after a set number of responses. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to one another. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. Curiosity rises when CLEP reads that an instructor models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, peer tutoring. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, portfolio assessment. The correct answer is option C. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Peer tutoring is different because it uses students helping students. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work over time. Question 49. A CLEP-style scenario says the class work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability. Which answer best captures it for CLEP? Option A, cooperative learning. Option B, lecture method. Option C, competitive learning. Option D, independent study. The correct answer is option A. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Lecture method is not the best choice because it centers on teacher presentation. Competitive learning is different because it ranks students against one another. Independent study does not fit because it relies on solo learning. Question 50. Inside a classroom discussion, CLEP studies why an instructor adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness. Which concept fits? Option A, random sampling. Option B, standardized instruction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, differentiated instruction. The correct answer is option D. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Random sampling is not the best choice because it selects participants for research. Standardized instruction is different because it delivers the same approach to all students. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates after instruction. Question 51. Looking at the clue that a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start, which idea should CLEP remember? Option A, accommodation only. Option B, mastery grading. Option C, universal design for learning. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option C. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading is different because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. CLEP sees that an instructor uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson during a teacher training scenario. Which concept best explains it? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, placement test. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option A. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to other learners. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Summative assessment does not fit because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Question 53. When CLEP notices that a final exam measures what the class learned after the unit ends in a final review session, which idea is being tested? Option A, diagnostic assessment. Option B, anecdotal record. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option C, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Diagnostic assessment is not the best choice because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. During a learning lab, CLEP studies a case where a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which term fits best? Option A, ipsative assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, informal observation. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option D, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Ipsative assessment is not the best choice because it compares a student to their own past performance. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to a reference group. Informal observation does not fit because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Question 55. In an after-school class, CLEP asks why a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample. Which answer names the idea? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, formative assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it is used during learning for improvement. Authentic assessment is different because it uses real-world tasks. Criterion-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a standard. Question 56. After reading that a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly, how should CLEP label the concept? Option A, validity. Option B, reliability. Option C, bias. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Validity is not the best choice because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. For a short exam review, CLEP connects a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed with which principle? Option A, validity. Option B, inter-rater agreement. Option C, standard error. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Inter-rater agreement is not the best choice because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Standard error is different because it estimates score uncertainty. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. Could a case where all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules be an example of which concept for CLEP? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, authentic assessment. Option C, informal assessment. Option D, standardized test. The correct answer is option D, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Why would CLEP link the class design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, standardized assessment. Option D, forced choice test. The correct answer is option A. Authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a group. Standardized assessment is different because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Forced choice test does not fit because it limits responses to provided options. Question 60. A practice item tells CLEP that the class receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy. Which concept is most likely? Option A, rubric. Option B, checklist. Option C, norm table. Option D, syllabus. The correct answer is option A. Rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Checklist is not the best choice because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Norm table is different because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Syllabus does not fit because it outlines course policies and topics. Question 61. Before answering, CLEP identifies that an instructor moves the class from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects. Which term should be chosen? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Kohlberg stages. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Erikson stages. The correct answer is option C. Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Kohlberg stages is different because it describes moral reasoning. Erikson stages does not fit because it describes psychosocial development. Question 62. Which choice helps CLEP explain why a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services in a morning lesson? Option A, individualized education program. Option B, rubric. Option C, norming report. Option D, lesson plan. The correct answer is option A. Individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Rubric is not the best choice because it scores performance. Norming report is different because it summarizes comparison data. Lesson plan does not fit because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Question 63. How can CLEP classify a classroom moment where a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate? Option A, retention. Option B, tracking. Option C, standardization. Option D, least restrictive environment. The correct answer is option D. Least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Retention is not the best choice because it keeps a student in the same grade. Tracking is different because it groups students by perceived ability. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Question 64. Suppose CLEP observes that a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which concept is shown? Option A, punishment. Option B, acceleration. Option C, accommodation. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option C. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Punishment is not the best choice because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Acceleration is different because it moves a learner ahead faster. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. While reviewing, Caleb sees a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, universal screening. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, modification. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option C. Modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Universal screening is not the best choice because it checks all learners for risk. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation does not fit because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Question 66. One interesting clue says a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics. Which educational psychology term fits for Caleb? Option A, dyscalculia support. Option B, dyslexia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B. Dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract is different because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. From this example, where a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines, which answer should Caleb select? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, gifted compacting. Option C, ADHD classroom support. Option D, criterion testing. The correct answer is option C. ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli with responses. Gifted compacting is different because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Criterion testing does not fit because it compares performance to standards. Question 68. Students in a final review session discuss why an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, extinction. Option B, retention. Option C, curriculum compacting. Option D, remediation. The correct answer is option C. Curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Retention is different because it repeats a grade or course. Remediation does not fit because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Question 69. Teachers in a learning lab wonder why examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to the class cultural backgrounds. Which principle applies? Option A, culturally responsive teaching. Option B, ability tracking. Option C, colorblind teaching. Option D, standardized testing. The correct answer is option A. Culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Ability tracking is not the best choice because it separates students by perceived ability. Colorblind teaching is different because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Standardized testing does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 70. Can CLEP treat an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge as evidence of which concept? Option A, validity evidence. Option B, reliability. Option C, standard deviation. Option D, test bias. The correct answer is option D, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity evidence is not the best choice because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Reliability is different because it concerns score consistency. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 71. If CLEP must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when the class transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily? Option A, accommodation. Option B, summative testing. Option C, random reinforcement. Option D, classroom routines. The correct answer is option D, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing is different because it evaluates final achievement. Random reinforcement does not fit because it gives rewards unpredictably. Question 72. Rather than guessing, CLEP should connect the class earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges with which concept? Option A, logical consequence. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, token economy. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option C, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Logical consequence is not the best choice because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Classical conditioning is different because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Question 73. Curiosity rises when CLEP reads that a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, unrelated punishment. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, extinction. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option D, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Unrelated punishment is not the best choice because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Extinction does not fit because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 74. A CLEP-style scenario says an instructor spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly. Which answer best captures it for CLEP? Option A, wait time. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, withitness. The correct answer is option D, withitness. This describes withitness because withitness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Wait time is not the best choice because it is a pause after asking a question. Self-efficacy is different because it is belief in capability. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary learning support. Question 75. Inside a quiet study group, CLEP studies why an instructor pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone. Which concept fits? Option A, response cost. Option B, withitness. Option C, distributed practice. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option D, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Withitness is different because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. Looking at the clue that a prompt asks the class to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact, which idea should Caleb remember? Option A, open-ended questioning. Option B, closed question. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, recall cue. The correct answer is option A. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Closed question is not the best choice because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Recall cue does not fit because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Question 77. Caleb sees that an instructor tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next during a morning lesson. Which concept best explains it? Option A, effective feedback. Option B, random correction. Option C, general praise. Option D, summative grade only. The correct answer is option A. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only does not fit because it reports performance without next steps. Question 78. When Caleb notices that a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying in a practice test workshop, which idea is being tested? Option A, self-regulated learning. Option B, social facilitation. Option C, operant conditioning. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option A. Self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Social facilitation is not the best choice because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Operant conditioning is different because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Object permanence does not fit because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Question 79. During a tutoring table, Caleb studies a case where the class take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which term fits best? Option A, reciprocal teaching. Option B, token economy. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A. Reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Direct instruction is different because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Question 80. In a classroom discussion, Caleb asks why one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits. Which answer names the idea? Option A, lecture. Option B, peer tutoring. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option B. Peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Lecture is not the best choice because it is teacher presentation to a group. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work samples over time. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into ability groups. Question 81. After reading that a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound, how should Caleb label the concept? Option A, phonics. Option B, morphology. Option C, syntax. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D. Phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Phonics is not the best choice because it links sounds to printed letters. Morphology is different because it studies meaningful word parts. Syntax does not fit because it concerns sentence structure. Question 82. For a short exam review, CLEP connects a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step with which principle? Option A, Bandura modeling. Option B, Maslow needs. Option C, Skinner shaping. Option D, Piaget conservation. The correct answer is option A, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Piaget conservation does not fit because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Question 83. Could a case where family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development be an example of which concept for CLEP? Option A, information processing. Option B, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option C, Brenner ecological systems. Option D, Kohlberg moral stages. The correct answer is option C, Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Erikson psychosocial stages is different because it focuses on lifespan social emotional conflicts. Kohlberg moral stages does not fit because it focuses on moral reasoning. Question 84. Why would CLEP link a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, secure attachment. Option B, authoritarian parenting. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, avoidant attachment. The correct answer is option A, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Authoritarian parenting is not the best choice because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority is different because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Avoidant attachment does not fit because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Question 85. A practice item tells CLEP that two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability. Which concept is most likely? Option A, criterion validity. Option B, temperament. Option C, self-concept. Option D, moral reasoning. The correct answer is option B, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Criterion validity is not the best choice because it links test scores to an outcome. Self-concept is different because it is a person's view of self. Moral reasoning does not fit because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Question 86. Before answering, CLEP identifies that a child says "good" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly. Which term should be chosen? Option A, code switching. Option B, language overgeneralization. Option C, babbling. Option D, telegraphic speech. The correct answer is option B, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Code switching is not the best choice because it shifts language varieties based on context. Babbling is different because it is early sound play. Telegraphic speech does not fit because it uses short two-word phrases. Question 87. Which choice helps CLEP explain why the class explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need in a mini lecture? Option A, moral dilemma assessment. Option B, aptitude test. Option C, achievement test. Option D, behavior checklist. The correct answer is option A, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Aptitude test is not the best choice because it predicts future learning potential. Achievement test is different because it measures learned academic content. Behavior checklist does not fit because it records observed behaviors. Question 88. How can CLEP classify a classroom moment where a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause? Option A, case study. Option B, correlational research. Option C, experimental research. Option D, ethnography. The correct answer is option B, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Case study is not the best choice because it examines one person or small group deeply. Experimental research is different because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Ethnography does not fit because it studies culture through immersion. Question 89. Suppose CLEP observes that participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which concept is shown? Option A, matching. Option B, random assignment. Option C, random sampling. Option D, convenience sampling. The correct answer is option B, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Matching is not the best choice because it pairs participants on key traits. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Convenience sampling does not fit because it uses whoever is easily available. Question 90. While reviewing, CLEP sees a researcher changes the type of feedback the class receive. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, independent variable. Option B, confounding variable. Option C, control variable. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option A, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Control variable is different because it is held constant. Dependent variable does not fit because it is the measured outcome. Question 91. One interesting clue says a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods. Which educational psychology term fits for CLEP? Option A, extraneous variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, random assignment. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option D, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Extraneous variable is not the best choice because it is an outside influence. Independent variable is different because it is the factor manipulated. Random assignment does not fit because it is a grouping procedure. Question 92. From this example, where one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy, which answer should CLEP select? Option A, population. Option B, sample. Option C, experimental group. Option D, control group. The correct answer is option D, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why an instructor adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of the class. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, median. Option B, range. Option C, mode. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option D, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Range is different because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Mode does not fit because it is the most frequent score. Question 94. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why an instructor wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average. Which principle applies? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, raw score. Option C, mean. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option D, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Mean does not fit because it gives the average but not spread. Question 95. Can CLEP treat a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group as evidence of which concept? Option A, grade equivalent. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, standard deviation. Option D, percentage correct. The correct answer is option B, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Grade equivalent is not the best choice because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Percentage correct does not fit because it reports items answered correctly. Question 96. If CLEP must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when the class improve partly because they know they are being studied? Option A, observer bias. Option B, placebo effect. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, testing effect. The correct answer is option C, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Observer bias is not the best choice because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Placebo effect is different because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect does not fit because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Question 97. Rather than guessing, CLEP should connect the class improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program with which concept? Option A, instrumentation threat. Option B, selection bias. Option C, regression to the mean. Option D, maturation threat. The correct answer is option D, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Instrumentation threat is not the best choice because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Selection bias is different because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Regression to the mean does not fit because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Question 98. Curiosity rises when CLEP reads that a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, meta-analysis. Option B, random assignment. Option C, qualitative observation. Option D, standardized testing. The correct answer is option C, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Meta-analysis is not the best choice because it statistically combines many studies. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Standardized testing does not fit because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Question 99. A CLEP-style scenario says an instructor studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom. Which answer best captures it for CLEP? Option A, laboratory experiment. Option B, longitudinal research. Option C, survey research. Option D, action research. The correct answer is option D, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Laboratory experiment is not the best choice because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Longitudinal research is different because it follows participants over time. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. Inside an after-school class, Caleb studies why families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate. Which concept fits? Option A, informed consent. Option B, confidentiality. Option C, debriefing. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance.